All right, great to see so many people out there. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to call this meeting to order, 7:02. This point in time, I invite Pastor Paul forward for an opening prayer. And can we just express our thanks that Pastor Paul is staying?
My sermon notes from yesterday are still up here, so we won't do that again. It is good to be able to say that my family and I get to stay with all of you. As you know, it was a challenging process for us, a heavy process for us. Ann Arbor being hometown and the connections and everything we have there. And truly, I meant what I said yesterday. Tons of ministry potential up there. And yet, we believe God is calling us to stay here. Again, I want to echo how grateful we are to so many of you for the words of encouragement and prayer and counsel that you shared. And we were listening closely, and many of you in this room, the consistent word that we heard was not yet. That maybe there will be a day in the future, maybe the far future, when we will be sent from this place and God will call us to another congregation, but it is not yet. And so Pam and I and our kids, we reflected on that pretty deeply, and I want to thank you for that word. As I shared yesterday, the call process for us affirmed not simply our place here, but our shared ministry together, Loved and Sent and Little Antioch. And so I thought tonight I would share 10 reasons why I'm staying, in no particular order. Number 10, Makana Jesus and African Youth Ministry. It is incredible to watch this church become a multicultural ministry, not simply because of what that means in terms of different opportunities we have and the influence of other cultures on us, but the simple fact that if you look in Revelation 7, multicultural is a reflection of the kingdom of God. If you look in Acts, Antioch was in many ways the first multicultural church. And if that is what we are aiming for, we are well on our way. It is incredibly exciting to be a part of it. Number 9, our team, not just our pastors and staff, but also our leaders and volunteers. I am convinced that top to bottom, we have the best team in the LCMS, and that together there is a tremendous opportunity here for kingdom impact, not just in St. Louis, not just for us, but even beyond us, to be a church that influences our church body and even the American Christian church. Number 8, building projects and campus expansion, margin for mission with an emphasis on mission. And so we will talk about that a little bit tonight, so we'll save more on that. Number 7, the harbor. One of the things that we learned as we visited Ann Arbor and as our family was discerning this was the harbor would absolutely kill in Ann Arbor. It would be such a wonderful place for that to launch, but it's not ready to go just yet. Pam's work here is so crucial. We had our kickoff retreat this last weekend. Another 11 young leaders raised up. They will be sent out in May. That brings us up to 35 total in just under 3 years. It is an incredibly important work, not just for us, but for our church to invest in the next generation. Number 6, all of you. We are staying for you. I've heard it said that St. Louis measures time in decades, not years, that you have to be around for decades before you're really in, and there are some ways that we still feel like the new folks in town. And at the same time, we've been through some stuff, haven't we? A pandemic. On one end, an anniversary, celebrating that just a few years ago on the other end, and funerals and weddings and baptisms and Bible classes. We have been through a lot together in just a very short time, and those relationships and memories are precious to us. Number 5 and number 4, we're going to put these two together. Love Sent Summit, it is happening September 17th through the 19th. We are inviting our church body onto our campus to share Loved and Sent and to explore that question of who's next. Where are good things happening in our church body that we can lift up, that we can celebrate, that we can share? And part of that's happening because we are in St. Louis. For good or for worse, St. Louis is like this intersection, this nexus point in our church body with the International Center, with the seminaries, with 80 different Lutheran churches in this area. We have an opportunity, as I said, for outsized influence to share what we've learned, both the good and the bad, to share the ways God has blessed us and the ways he's directing us with others, that more might come to know Jesus. Number 3, future you. Our church is growing and changing. Last year, we had more than 50 new members join our congregation. We had 35 baptisms, a number of which were adults and older children. I'm just curious, we got a pretty big crowd here, so I'm pretty confident of this. How many of you went through Pathways since I've been here? Like you had me help teach part of your Pathways class. That means you guys are newer than I am. Our church is growing and changing. And so if you fast forward another 5 years, imagine how many more people might be here. We are here today, not simply for us, not simply for this place and this ministry, but for future you, for future us, for everyone who is not here yet. Number 2, Little Antioch. We are growing as a people defined by word and prayer, by sacrifice and sending. Antioch was a hub of mission and sending in the first century. We aim to be that in just a little way in the 21st century, from harbor to horizon and the ends of the earth. And number 1, I said these were in no particular order. This is number 1. Jesus and the Great Commission. Jesus said, "As the Father has sent me, even so I am sending you. So go and make disciples of all nations." That word sent is dear to us. It is part of who we are. And as I look forward in the coming years and all of these wonderful opportunities, I think we're going to be challenged in just how serious we are about that word. And it is going to be a wonderful thing to see and to be a part of. And so tonight we talk about something as both big and mundane as simply a building, right? We keep the mission in mind, that we are here, the beloved of God, sent by him into the world for everyone who's not here yet. And so we pray. Heavenly Father, you have loved us in Jesus with an abundant, sacrificial, and never-ending love. And you send us in your name. You empower us with your Holy Spirit to proclaim this love to our neighbors, to our city, and if it's your will, even to the ends of the earth. And so send us. Grant us holy courage, Spirit-breathed wisdom. Grant us that we might boldly follow you. In Jesus' name, amen.
If Pastor Paul would have taken that call, I don't think I'd be here tonight. I'd be at home crying or something. But I'm grateful for our whole team. Actually, if our Pastor Paul, Pastor Nathan, if anybody on our staff here tonight, if you just stand for a moment, anybody on our ministry staff, our church staff here at Christ Memorial and Reliant, if you'd stand. All right. Let's thank our servants. All right, thank you all for being here tonight as God's people. There are many of you gave up. There's a Cardinals game tonight, I think. There's all kinds of other things you could be doing. Some of you, I see some small children, some people with babies in the room. Thanks for doing that and carrying a little one in here. Your time is valuable. Why are we here? We're here to consider a vote for a property on the end of our complex, Gathering Square. And you know how we got here, that went for sale February-ish or so. We reported at the May voters meeting. There was interest from you. July 30th, we had a special voters meeting, report back that our leadership did some due diligence, and so we're here tonight. I just want to let you know, God's people have driven this process. I'm grateful for our leadership, for you all. My leadership style, if you don't know, is very collaborative. If you wonder, is this Pastor Jeff's plan? Is this part of some, empire he wants to build? I really, and the council can tell you, I just kind of walk with you all in this. And so I'm just kind of watching God's people respond. Your presence here tonight says There's interest, there's something going on, and I'm grateful for your prayerful discernment in this process. You take it seriously. That means you take your church seriously and the mission seriously, so I'm grateful for that. My role, what you want your pastors to do, is be ministers of the word, not real estate brokers. So that's why we have a really good real estate broker here tonight. You'll hear from him later. Or why you have really smart people who lead. Your pastors are here to make sure that the Word of God is central, that Jesus is everything, that the mission of God is lived out, that word and sacrament ministry happens. That's why you want us here. So while there certainly is wind blowing for us to get to this point, I want you to know that your leadership and your pastors in particular also listen when there are concerns. And if I had to narrow, if there's like a predominant hesitation with this, if I had to narrow it, it's a really good question. The question is how is this related to ministry or mission? That is a really good question. I share that too. If I didn't think that this was related to ministry or mission, I would let you know, and I'm watching that very carefully, because we may say we are, and mission drift can happen. I'm actually concerned about that. I want to watch it very carefully. So I just want to share that with you. In fact, in July 30th, we were here, and Brett did a great job kind of presenting the facts, just doing the work and then saying this is what we found. And you all had good questions, and there were lots of good practical reasons. We heard about IPC. Okay, they're going to move on. We've got that space, 60,000 square feet, we can lease out. We're talking to our brokers about that. There's the potential for this on the end. And I'm just going to tell you a self-admission. I was sitting right over here, and I thought, we're missing something. And I kind of own it. And here's what we were missing. I think that you want and that we want to let ministry drive first, like really explicit ministry, and let everything else follow. Now, certainly margin for mission, that's a stated strategic priority of our church. So leasing space so that we can use it for mission, either to give away or internally, that's direct to mission and ministry. But I thought, here we're talking about leasing space next door, and it's just lease. And I thought, what if, and we've always talked about, what if we expand ministry into that space? And I thought, dang it. That's one piece. Maybe we didn't get out ahead enough. We're just reacting to what's coming toward us. So I just want to tell you tonight, if there's question about ministry, I've talked to our church council. I think now is the time for us soon to talk about what could we do with some of that space next door. What if we reserve 20,000 square feet and then look at our plan that we went through in 2023 and say, how are these priorities? What would fit there? Now's the time. We're going to be 20 years in this space on September 18th. 20 years in this building. That's history now. That's not new anymore. We are a new people. Pastor Paul, even some of you in the last 5 years have joined our church. We're a new people. It's a new generation. There are new needs that face us that our people have. Now is the time to look at the house and say, oh, do we need to reconfigure the house for new needs? On Sunday, everybody's kind of back to school again. Our schools are back. The house was packed. It was full. Is it time, and what would we do with 20,000 square feet? I talked to our council about that a couple weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure most of you are like, yeah, let's do that. That you get excited about. So as we talk about, we can't talk about that tonight, but I want to talk about that, okay? So let's get there. But tonight, you're like, okay, what about Gathering Square? What is that end of the complex? And there are lots of good practical reasons to look at that, and we'll hear more about that tonight. There's mission-related things. We talk about margin for mission. But, again, the question, is this connected to ministry and mission? If we buy it, can we do 20,000 square feet next door? I think so. If we don't buy it, if we vote no tonight, we can still do the 20,000 square feet next door. But I think about, I share sometimes my father-in-law, the dairy farmer. He says, never build a silo on the end of your barn. Never build a silo on the end of your barn because you cap it and you can't add on to your barn. And you never know. You might want to do that years down the road, or maybe your kids want to do that down the road. we're ready, I think, to add on to our barn of ministry. I think also then, if we have more space beyond that Gathering Square space, we have even more confidence. We have just 20,000 square feet is nothing. The next generation might say, well, we're going to take the rest of the 60,000 square feet and we still have more. Never build a silo on the end of your barn. So if you ask me tonight, is there ministry and mission connection to this? Just so you hear from your pastor, and I would represent our pastors clearly, yes, I think that there is, we would not be here. I would have said, let's kill this if I thought that this was a detriment or a distraction from ministry or mission. Now, there's lots of other things to consider. We can do that tonight. But yes, I think it is related to ministry and mission. I want to thank Brett Hartman for a lot of work on your behalf. In the meantime, he's had a third child, who was baptized on Sunday, and also has a job, and has somehow spent maybe, I don't know, I said 100 hours, probably more than that, as well as our church council. And so if our church council, if you're an elected member of our church council, could you stand for a minute just so we can recognize people who are doing a lot of legwork? All right, thank you all. I'll turn it over to El Presidente to continue.
Thanks, Pastor Jeff. Did not know we were going to get a barn reference tonight. That was lovely. So at this point in time, we move to the introduction of guests, which is standard for a voters meeting. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the process, for folks who are church members but have not attended a voters meeting, we ask that you stand up, introduce yourselves, and at the end of the meeting, we'll have you come sign the official voting registry book. And so you wouldn't be able to vote tonight. You have to sit through a voters meeting and sign the book at the end of the meeting, and then you're eligible to vote at every voters meeting thereafter. So that's typically how the process works. Last voters meeting, I think we had a record amount of folks stand up and introduce themselves, which was great. That was kind of the point. We wanted to get folks eligible to vote if there was a vote, and so, yeah, we appreciated that. So, yes, please introduce yourselves. We'll try to get your names, so if you could speak loudly, that would be excellent. I'll start over here on the right.
I'm Lizzie Stryker.
Thanks, Lizzie.
I'm Tammy Collins.
Dennis Collins.
Tammy and Dennis Collins, thank you.
Marie Crum.
Marie Crum.
Stan Rulo.
Stan, thank you. Yes,
Mary Antonacci.
Mary Antonacci. Marlo. Any other first-time voters meeting attendees? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming to your first voters meeting. Oh, there's the clicker. At this point, we'll just move to the presentation. We're going to do a quick recap just for everybody's benefit. I'm sure most of you were interested, so you probably either attended the last meeting or watched online, but just to kind of recap everything and how we got here. So I know the system was lagging a little bit. There we go. Okay, so just a quick update. You guys know about Incredible Pizza, but they'll be out by next Sunday, so that's their last day. That's when people have to pick up if they're buying go-karts or whatever. And so they'll be out of the building by then. Oh, this is the old presentation, I believe, so sorry about that. Another update, our broker, Scout, has been showing the space to interested parties. So we have a guy from Scout who's going to introduce himself later and also take questions on Gathering Square. So that's important. And then, again, the bylaws state that the congregation must approve leasing any real estate in excess of $100,000. So when the time does come and church council works with Scout to identify potential tenants, There will be a voters meeting. I mean, maybe it can be in the normal course of a voters meeting at a November or May meeting, but might have to call a special voters meeting to approve of a new tenant because anything, again, in excess of $100,000 has to be approved. So the reason we're here, Gathering Square, obviously, is what we're talking about. Again, the Outback, the Fitz's, and the Burn. That's all one lot. It's all a part of, if you're looking at the operating easement agreement where there are 4 different properties, it's Lot 3. So we can go to the next slide. There we go. So Christ Memorial owns Lot 4. That's the big lot on the screen. Lot 3 is the little elephant-looking one that's highlighted in orange. Lot 2 is owned by Dan Jones. He just built the bank there, and Lot 1 is the BMO Harris Bank. So that's just kind of a quick update on the lots. And next slide, please. Just a tenant summary. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the one from last time. I apologize. The tenant summary. So we have Outback Steakhouse, Fitz's, and Burn. Outback leases 6,800 square feet. Fitz's has 14,000 square feet, and Burn has 7,700 square feet. There's lease start dates, lease end dates. All of these businesses have been here. They were here through COVID operating, and that was good. So they've all survived that. Outback's been here the longest, since 2000, and they start a new 5-year lease on September the 1st, and then they have another 5-year option as well. And then Fitz's has 5-year options going all the way out to 2039. Thank you. Yep, that's the right slide. So that's just a quick recap on the tenants. So this is where we're going to get a little off from the slides, but I can just summarize. It's okay. This is just a review of the information. So if you guys remember, purchase price is $6 million. That's the agreed upon purchase price between us as potential buyer and the seller, Dan Jones. And the property, just as a little context, it was originally, well, it was on the market when we sent a letter of intent at $6.34 million. Our first letter of intent was $5.9 million. The Dan Jones group countered with 6.2. We countered with 6, and it was accepted. If approved by the congregation, $20,000 would be due in escrow within 5 days of signing the purchase agreement. And then we have 60 days to complete inspections, perform due diligence, interview tenants, and all that sort of stuff. So that would be the process. And within that 60-day period, we can terminate the agreement for any reason or no reason at all, and the full $20,000 is refundable. That's a clarification that was not specified at the last meeting, but somebody brought that to our attention, so appreciate that. That is fully refundable within that 60-day window, that $20,000. More review info. So after the 60-day period, an additional $80,000 would be due in escrow, and after the inspection period, that 60-day window, the escrow payment is non-refundable. Closing would be 15 days after the expiration of the inspection period, and that's the maximum it can go. Then, we're also in the process of interviewing property managers to determine who would be a best fit for us as a church. If we go from just having one tenant to having 4 tenants, I think the property manager side of things is going to be very important. I think it's also important to keep the businesses at an arm's length, and those people are good at managing properties, and we can be good at doing church stuff. So I like the idea of having a property manager take some work off Dana's plate, and just kind of they know what they're doing. They review the leases. They can help us renegotiate the leases. They can they know all the vendors who handle all this stuff. So we interviewed one last week, and we've got a couple more coming. So we're talking to different ones to understand how the cost structure works and all that sort of stuff. So just as an FYI, that's a priority. And having property managers alongside you in the inspection process is also important. So that's why we're trying to identify one that we would like to work with. And then kind of an update, too, from the last meeting. So as part of the agreement, there's a contingency within the current draft of the purchase and sale agreement that there would be an agreement between Christ Memorial as owner of Lot 4 and potential new owner of Lot 3, and with Dan Jones, who's the owner of Lot 2, the new bank. And the agreement would just be a declaration that sort of, it goes on the record, but it says that Dan Jones, would authorize Christ Memorial to do whatever development we want with our parking lot. We don't have to go seek his approval through the OEA. He authorizes us to do what we want, and then we would also grant him sort of reciprocal authorization to do what he wants on his lot. And then, he's not going to, call us on our parking lot and say, you guys got to fix this up. But there's still one other player that would be the owner of Lot 1, who, in order to do a development on the parking lot, we would either need to get his approval, or if he doesn't respond within 30 days saying no, it would be implied consent. So that's just a little bit of an update on where we stand. We can still try to redo the operating easement agreement, which is pretty dated. It goes back to 2003, so that's still a priority. It's just not practical to get that finished prior to potentially doing this deal. So that's a little bit of an update on that. As a financing update, so last time we had talked, LCF is willing to lend 80% of the purchase price. Yeah, those are, these are the old numbers, but LCF will lend 80% of the purchase price up to $4.8 million. The starting interest rate currently is 6.625%. This is going to be an adjustable rate mortgage. So it is going to be adjustable. We have the option to either choose annual adjustment, monthly, or quarterly. And just with interest rates, LCF projects that they're going to, probably drop here in the future. So we might be better picking a shorter term, but we will have the option. It is adjustable for the full length of the mortgage. And so that's a little bit of a clarification from the executive summary if you guys are looking at that. But we have the option to refinance to fixed if we would want anytime, but we would just have to refinance and pay closing costs associated with that. So just wanted to clarify that. The loan would be amortized over 25 years and due in 20 years. And then the down payment financing of 20%. So far, just to kind of give you guys an update on that, $1.21 million has been pledged. $775,000 has been pledged via anonymous gift to the church to go towards the purchase of the Gathering Square, and $435,000 has been pledged via 5% fixed interest promissory notes with the church from stakeholders, so from folks who are interested in this. And so, those are kind of flexible in the repayment terms with those lenders. So just to kind of clarify, but in short, the down payment funds have been pledged at this point, and they could be ready for potential November closing. That's that. I'm on to the new financial projections. So, there's some printed copies. Thank you. Maybe we can pass those out. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, while they're being passed out, I'll just kind of go over them with you. And actually, this is a great thing because we got the old numbers on the screen. You'll see the new numbers, so you'll be like, hey, what are these questions? So that makes sense. The rental income is projected at $479, not $474. The change there was just a slight tweak to get the correct rental rate for Outback starting in September. There was just, it goes up in September. We would have it, we wouldn't close until after September, so we would use the new rate the whole way, not partial old rate and then some new rate. So that's why the rent went up $5,000, if you guys are questioning that, which is a great question. Finance guy, I would ask that question. The triple net income didn't really change much. That stayed the same. So as you guys may know, all of the leases next door are triple net, which means they cover common area maintenance, insurance, and real estate. So leaseholders pay those costs over and above the regular rents, and so you get to a gross rental income of $631,000. And typically, a lot of leases will cap a management fee at maybe 3%, but we talked about having a property manager, obviously, and we can work with the property manager, and we would get reimbursed at least some of the cost by working with the property manager from the leaseholders. So until we dive into the leases, and we don't have access to those unless we were to move forward with the purchase, but you could see what they allow as far as flow through of management costs. So when you look at the expenses on your sheet, maybe I attached the wrong one. I don't know. Sorry. When you look at expenses on the sheet, the triple nets are the expenses, and again, those are all assumed pass through, going back to the income. There's a chance that it could be higher if they're not all fully passed through. But we just assume that those are going to be all the income coming out is just going out as expense. And then we've got the annual accounting and legal fees. So, you're going to have some fees associated with just doing the accounting work and the legal work for all of this. So every year, there's going to be extra accounting work. So we just factored some fees in there. So we get to a total operating expense of $162,000. The year one interest expense from the LCF loan at 6.625 is $315,667. That is just interest. Again, I'm just trying to present just the interest expense. The debt principal repayment is listed below the line, so you'll see that down there for the cash flow purposes. But and then year one interest expense from Christ Memorial members, 5% loans on $435,000 would be $21,750. And so your total interest expense would be $337,417. Your total expenses then are just shy of $500,000, which gives you a net income before taxes of $131,674. And then if you factor out the principal repayments from the LCF loan in year one, you're looking at cash flow of about $54,000 from the property. Well, why'd that change? The old number was like $7,000. That changed because with the pledged gifts from certain members, anonymous gifts that we have on hand, that's obviously just goes straight to your equity, so you can borrow less. And the original numbers had basically 100% financing on the 1.2% or the $1.2 million down payment at 5%. So with that, change, that was a big change, and that helps the cash flow picture look a little bit better. I would say just kind of a priority for the near-term cash flows within that property, if we would get it, would be to build a reserve for capital improvements. You always want to have some funds to draw on if you need to replace HVAC and all that sort of stuff. And then it would also be a priority would be paying back those promissory notes with church members. Even though they're lower interest, that would probably be the priority to pay them back first prior to paying off the LCEF principal. So that's kind of the near-term plan, and as those get paid off, the priority would be trying to pay off the LCEF loan. So that's that. So that takes me to, my page has just disappeared. So lastly, I'm just going to move into the discussion of risks and opportunities and feedback from the congregation. So all the feedback was emailed out to the church council, and I read them. I read them all. It was a lot of really great points, a lot of interesting points. There's people on both sides, and I thought there were a lot of very valid points. So I just want you guys to know that at the outset, like we take these things very, very seriously. So as far as opportunities goes, options and flexibility for future generations. That one's important to me. I had a conversation with a member last week. And, old-time member, been around a while, and recounted a story about how Christ Memorial, when they were at the old location, purchased property by Lutheran South. And apparently there was somebody who wanted to come in and, I don't know, build condos or do something with that property. But the church swooped in, grabbed the property, didn't know what they were going to use it for necessarily at the time. I think maybe Greg thought about building over there or whatever. Well, turned out that Christ Memorial ended up selling that land to Lutheran South, and there's no way Lutheran South would have been able to do the expansion that they just completed without having that land to purchase. And so I just think that that's kind of anecdotally a story about how it can be used for the future, even if we don't yet know what the purpose is at this point in time. So I thought that was an interesting example. And then, so decision-making control, I think we've touched on that in the past, but there was a great comment from a member last time that said, you might get somebody in here who's hostile, who doesn't like the church, and they all of a sudden enter into the operating easement agreement. They read through it. They say, oh, you guys got to redo your parking lot, or maybe they don't like churches, so they just give us a hard time, or they put tenants in that we don't like. So I mean, that's something too. I think we have to take seriously. That goes with keeping out a potential new owner who might be hostile to the church. So that was the other point there. And then risks. I think there were a lot of great for those who were maybe on the fence or who were not in favor during the last meeting. Going into more debt. That was a big risk. You go into debt, tenants could leave. I agree. I think that is a risk. There's always a risk with that. I do think, when you look at the numbers, and if the space is fully leased up, the property sort of pays for itself. If it's not, there is a risk that, you have a vacancy for a period of 9 to 24 months, just depending on what you're trying to fill. And so that is a risk that we should take seriously. Tenants could leave. I do think that, the expectation of leasing out the Incredible Pizza space soon, I'm thinking probably we could get for 40,000 square feet. There's a potential we could get up to 280,000, maybe more, from a lessee, so or from a new tenant, and so that would just be sort of extra for us. I mean, obviously we want to tag it for margin for mission, but it's a little bit of cushion too, should a tenant move out. So I think that's something to consider. And then, I think Pastor Jeff touched on the risks too. How does this fit into the mission of our church, and is it the right thing? And I think that is a risk. And if we proceed to go forward, that we're trusting God that, He will reveal the purpose of that for us in the future. And if not, then it's not the future either. So, that's a decision we're here to make tonight. And with real estate, and we encountered this just kind of in talking through everything, but sometimes real estate can sit a while and it won't move, and then other times it's gone before you know it. If you've tried to buy a house lately, maybe you know that, but you have to kind of act decisively and make a decision, and this is tonight's for our decision. It's, are we doing this or are we not? And so I think that's ultimately where we're at with this. So at this point in time, that kind of concludes my presentation on this, and I apologize that the slides weren't all updated, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions. But at this point in time, I'd like to invite Tom Milford up and just let him introduce himself. Tom's our broker who works with Scout and super knowledgeable. Just want him to introduce himself. He'll make himself available for questions too.
You want me to stand here? Yeah. This feels like Pastor Jeff's spot. Hi, I'm Tom Milford. I'm with Scout. We are a commercial real estate firm. I partner with my partner Jared, who had to coach first grade soccer tonight, so he is unable to be here. So just a little background on Scout. We are kind of a two-pronged company. We do brokerage, right? We represent tenants, we represent landlords, we help with leasing, we help fill vacant space, we bring tenants. My partner Jared, who's coaching, brought Burn Boot Camp to the Gathering Square space. He was the broker who represented Burn, negotiated the deal with Dan Jones. So very, very familiar with that. And Jared is also a Lindbergh High School grad and grew up around here. I grew up in Glendale, and the other part of our company is Scout Capital Group, where we are investors. We buy property. I spent 10 years at the Drury Hotels company, doing all their asset management for all their retail and office space and restaurants and cell towers that they had. And so the converging of these two interests, the brokerage and my operational at Drury, formed our Scout Capital company, where we buy shopping centers. And so we do not take on a ton of these types of assignments because we are out buying for ourselves. But I have a friendship with Brett, I have a friendship with Pastor Nathan, brought on to help because I really think this is a great opportunity for you guys. I think it's a really solid investment. It's not a home run in baseball parlance. It is kind of right down the middle, single up the middle. It's a very replaceable rent. I believe the rents are really reasonable, especially the Burn and Fitz's. Outback, we're told they're the highest rent payer. We're told that they're doing very well. The data backs that up. So that's kind of my spiel on it. I don't know if you had any questions or anything else you want me to touch on. Okay, you want me to say okay?
Sorry, no chair. Yeah, and I just want to thank Tom and the Scout guys. They just made it easy on us working with us for this. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, get him a chair. There we go. Perfect. All right. So this is an actual voters meeting. So at this point in time, we have ballots that will pass out, and how Robert's Rules of Order works is we're going to welcome a motion, and I'll read that in a minute. If there's a move and a second, then we will open it up for discussion and questions, just to kind of get the motion out there. And at that point in time, we'll have a period of discussion and questions. There might be a time to sort of wrap up. We'll see how long it goes, but and then there will be a vote. We will pass out ballots as well, so just FYI. But at this point in time, I would welcome a motion to purchase the Gathering Square property for $6 million plus related closing and due diligence costs, borrow up to 80% of the purchase price to acquire the Gathering Square property, collateralize that debt with the property and current church assets, use a minimum of $1.2 million pledged from stakeholders to fund the necessary down payment to close on the property, with a majority as pledged donations and the remainder funded as loans with church stakeholders. Do I have a motion? We'll count that as for us. Or who else is out there? Okay. There we go. Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay. Yeah, Steinberg. Okay, we have a motion and a second. At this point in time, we're going to open it up for questions, comments, feedback. If you guys could come to the mics with your questions, comments, feedback, we can all take questions. Cynthia Berry, and just to introduce everybody up here, Cynthia is Vice President of Church Council. She's been absolutely great to work with. She is like very detail-oriented and awesome and just great at everything, so appreciate having her. Christy is awesome, always takes the minutes, and she just is very thorough. She's taken on other responsibilities, and she's just crushing it, and appreciate her. And obviously, you guys know Barry. Barry coached me in church league basketball years ago. Barry and Betty have been around Christ Memorial forever. They're just great folks. And Barry's son once called me out on strikes at Afton on a very bad pitch. So anyway, his son was an umpire. So I have a gripe with that. But yeah, please, questions, comments, and Tom, obviously, Tom's up here. So questions, comments, would welcome all of that at this point. Maybe you guys are all just sitting back, you've made up your minds. And if you do have them, please come up to the front here. We'll give it a minute. Come on up, Larry.
I want to appreciate all the work that you guys have done to get this in the point where we can vote on it. Let me ask you the one question now, in terms of the due diligence. There's a couple of things that you still don't know right now. So this vote tonight, will it be to allow the council to proceed if you feel that after the due diligence, it is something that we should proceed with?
Great question. Yes, this vote is the decisive vote. So if there is something that comes up in due diligence, you know, we would obviously have concerns and we would talk it over with the experts, our agents, and we would greatly look at that. But, you know, council would have the authority to either pull out or continue on with the negotiations. So yes. This is the decisive vote.
Yeah, this is more of an unusual situation. You know, 20 years ago when we had a meeting just like this, basically, and everybody was there voting whether we would buy the Target property or not. We pretty much had everything in hand, and there was a very recognizable benefit to the vote that was taken that night and why we needed to go in here. Now, there was a number of people that didn't agree with it, and after that vote was favorable, they left the congregation. So in 20 years, things can happen. So we don't know what's going to happen 20 years from now. My main concern, not with can this happen, because you've laid it out, and it can happen. There are risks that we need to be aware of. My concern is, what are we doing short term as opposed to long term? We have a facility that is really getting maxed out. Pastor Jeff, you mentioned a number of the missions that were coming up and are here in the facility. All great things going on. About a week ago, just as an example, we had a barbecue going on. And I'll put a pitch for the men's club because we were supporting the choir, the bell choir at that time. We had a funeral that same day. We had a 5 o'clock service. There was a performance of Little Women that evening. That's in one day. One day. The next day, church services, regular, that's on Sunday, and another performance of Little Women. Monday morning, we're in here at 7 a.m., cleaning up, taking down risers, because there was another funeral that would be there, and they needed space for the luncheon. It's very tiring. But I think we really need to look more closely at the space that's being made available. This is a great opportunity to use that space for our mission and what we need today, not 20 years down the road. We just don't know where we're going to be in 20 years. I was here 20 years ago. We made a vote on this property, very much in favor of it. We also voted to build a sanctuary. Now, I realized that's not going to happen. So things change over that 20-year period of time. What we know, or I know anyway, and I wouldn't bet on it, but we're going to have different leadership in 20 years. I'm not criticizing the leadership that's here now, believe me, but it will change over that 20-year period of time. So it's more speculation, in my opinion, as to what we're doing going forward after 20 years. We can't use any of the property for mission or outreach because those tenants need to stay in place. As far as picking our neighbors, I have to admit, the one that we picked was the one that had the most issues. I mean, that's just honest. That's just the way it was. So it's difficult. You're picking tenants, number one, that they can pay their rent. And then you can do these other decisions after that. So I'm not 100% against this, but I'm thinking we really need to put our resources and efforts. It's going to take staff involvement in this going forward. I realize we'll have our property management, but still in all, it's going to take that time. I think it's more pointed towards the short-term needs of our congregation, how we can use that space, that incredible pizza. The timing is unbelievable. I think the timing is great. We should take advantage of that and use that property as much as we can. Having a tenant, okay, fine. It gives us some income. But I really think we need to consider the needs of this congregation on a short-term basis as a priority rather than that 20-year outlook.
Thank you. Yeah, and I don't disagree, Larry. I think we have to, everything is sort of a unique opportunity in and of itself, right? We got the 20,000 potential square feet next door. That's a decision we're going to have to make at some point. What are we doing with that? Pastor Jeff and I have talked about ideas. We've talked about the other ideas from the congregation. But there's a separate decision to be made on the Gathering Square space, and so that decision has to be made as well. And then there's other decisions that are going to have to be made going forward. And so the timing of it is just that they're all happening at once. We weren't expecting Incredible Pizza to be out already, but they are. And so we're just trying to take it in stride and make a decision at a time and see where we go. And I totally appreciate that. I think it's great that we're using our building so efficiently for all these things. It's really packed, but I think you're right. It's time to move in to the 20,000 square feet. Hello.
Is it on? Oh, yeah. Hi. For starters, there was a cookie walk the day of my wedding in this room, so I understand that. I also want to talk about Incredible Pizza. So I believe in the last one we talked that we would be taking legal action against them to get the back rent. Do we have a timeline on that? This is a two-parter. And do we think we'll actually get some money?
Great question. We're basically letting them clear out of the building, and then we're going to pursue the legal action. We did file litigation, but we agreed to, basically they said that they were going to file bankruptcy, and that was going to draw out the process of them getting out of the building. It was recommended to us that we just get our space back as quickly as possible, so let them leave, and then we can pursue litigation there. On the likelihood of collecting, I have no idea. I hope so, but we're going to pursue what's owed, and hopefully we can come to some sort of fair deal in it all. And I would say, I think it's last number I saw, if you factor in the year of COVID, that we were going to forgive that, but if they didn't go into default, if we factor all of it in, it's somewhere probably close to $400,000.
Okay, so if we magically get some money from them,
Potentially. We hope.
What are we going to do with it?
Well, yeah. I mean, if we got funding from them, lawyers, of course, would get their cut. That's natural. Anyway, I just have to joke about that. But yeah, I think you could potentially use some of that towards the principal, or I think you could come up with, and we've talked about this in the past, but coming up with rules on the margin for mission side of things about making sure that we're blessing others with it, we're blessing internal ministry with it, and we're being wise with it in that we save for capital improvements and things, because those come up no matter what. So I definitely think, and then debt payment, if there is debt, we would need to save some of it for that too. So great question.
Awesome, thanks.
And I would say too, if we get any of the money recouped, if we do the purchase of the Gathering Square, then we have also saved the idea that we're not putting additional in tons and hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars towards our parking lot. So that is the idea of this. Is I consider IPC and the Gathering Square to kind of be hand in hand, because on the one, you need the financials to do what we want with that 20,000 square feet. But on the other hand, we don't want to be hit up with some parking lot expenses. So by purchasing the Gathering Square, that would help alleviate some of that burden.
I think I want to just help myself conceptualize how much 20,000 square feet is that we would have. So this property for the church is about 60, is that correct?
Yes.
So we basically mirror the IPC spot. So if we divide our sections here into a third, that would be 20,000 that we would recoup on this side, which is a big portion in terms of a layout of what we could utilize. And so I have a hard time, and I need to visualize that as well. But I also wanted to speak in support of this as an opportunity. The Gathering Square is definitely an opportunity for the long term, and I appreciate Larry's comments about what we need to do now versus what we need to do down the road. And I think we have the best of both worlds, to be honest with you. We have something that we're going to be doing now with the 20,000 square feet, and then the opportunities for whatever God says for the future for the Gathering Square.
Thanks, Ashlyn.
Hello, I'm Dennis Lee. I'm the one that seconded it. And I seconded it for a reason. Larry said it very clearly, basically what I wanted to say. But I think that when we look at the whole outreach of the Gathering Square, yeah, we're not going to really get a lot out of that. But you never know. God works mysterious ways. People go to Outback Steakhouse, they're hungry, maybe they're thinking of going there and they go, oh, there's a church there. Why don't we just go in? And you never know what you get. The boot camp, same situation. Fitz's, same situation. You never know what you get. Now you're working with an incredible pizza area that is going to be empty. And do we really want to lease it? Or do we want to use it? I agree. And my thought is outreach. To make all this work, outreach would be, we have a theater group. Put it over there. Build a nice theater. Put something in there that's useful for not only the congregation, but outreach for the community. I think that would make sense to me. I hope it makes sense to everyone else. You could have a concession stand over there for that. There's a lot of things that can be done to enhance the community of our congregation and our outreach. I just hope that that makes sense. That's why I seconded, and I look forward to this vote and hope that we do due diligence.
Thanks, Dennis.
I just wanted to step up here. My name's Hannah McTrusty. New to the St. Louis area, joined as a member of this church. Love this church. So glad I found it. I need to talk for my generation and the generations that are following me. There are a couple young people in here around my age. I am turning 26. I have about 50-some years, Lord willing, of wanting to go to church, wanting to be involved, and everything. The future is now. It's not 20 years from now. It is now. And especially with the way the world is going, we have no idea what it's going to look like even tomorrow. So that's my thing, is we do need to buy this. The world is not going to get any better. I don't know how many people watch the news, but there is as much going on to prevent churches and Christianity from going. Who's to say that the smallest thing about having someone else purchase this property isn't the way for the devil to come in and try his best to go against us as a church community? It's happening every day. The other great thing is that there's a huge revival in my generation right now. There are people and souls being saved for Christ every single day, which hasn't happened in a very, very long time. I am one of them who has been reclaimed by Jesus Christ. My friends from 10 years ago, non-believers today, we talk about Christ every single day, and they're not even here in Missouri. They're back in the state of Wisconsin, where I am from. So we need space, yes, with the Incredible Pizza Company, but we need to do this outreach. We need to get out there because there are people who are looking for Christ every single day. And what better way to do that than to start with the most tiniest thing, and that might just be buying the property over there. We need to protect us as a church, and we need to have the space and the opportunities to grow and outreach. So I am talking about me. I work in the child care center here at Christ Memorial. Best decision I ever made was to work here. I am talking for them too. We have 4, I think the oldest we have in that center are 5-year-olds. They have, almost 80 years of a future of this church. I know a good amount of them come to this church. We need to think about them too. So that's my piece. I hope you guys vote because I get it. I get the conservative portion of it. I'm sorry for taking so much time. I understand. But sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith, and that's just saying, let's do it. Jesus, take the wheel, and that's why we need to vote, and we need to do this now.
Thanks, Hannah.
My question, I've got a gray area on the operating easement agreement. Can you walk us through the process of who can bring a claim forward and how does that get processed? And is there a resolution? Like if we say, no, we don't agree with that, how does that get resolved? I'm not sure I understand it because I heard you say that, it absolves us of some, responsibility, if you will, but I'm not sure I understand the process.
Yeah, the question is in regards to the operating easement agreement. And to answer the question, any development has to be approved by a unanimous vote of
Of the owners.
Of the owners, yes, not the leaseholders, the owners.
Okay.
And so for instance, when Dan Jones built the bank, Christ Memorial did grant approval. We're not sure how the owner of Lot 1 voted. There's a chance that maybe he never got the message, but he has 30 days to respond and say no if he wants to say no. After 30 days, it's implied consent, and it's assumed as a yes. So Dan Jones was able to build on his lot. So that's kind of how the restrictions work. Within the operating easement agreement itself, there is an exhibit, Exhibit G, which has specific uses that are forbidden by the operating easement agreement. One of those is living quarters. So any living quarters is right now expressly prohibited in the operating easement agreement. There's a ton of other things listed: bowling alleys, roller rinks, lots of different things. I mean, they're thorough, right? But those are all explicitly outlawed. And then the other thing is that any of the owners can call any other owner on the state of their parking lot. And so if it is not, and I don't have the language this time, it was in my script last time, but if it's not in a first-class state of repair, you have the language, Cynthia? It's got to be in a first-class state of repair is what the language says. So if I'm the owner of Lot 3, new owner of Lot 3, and I read the OEA and I see, oh, Lot 4 is right out here, right in front of my building, and it's definitely not in a first-class state of repair, and I can call them and say, oh, yeah, you need to redo your parking lot. Well, I'm going to do that. So,
But that would be a matter of opinion. One person might say it's not in first-class condition, and that's my point. Is how do we?
So I would encourage you after this. Well, it might be a little bit dark, but go drive along the south parking lot area that all the Fitzes and the Burn Boot Camp that everybody gets to use, and it's pretty bad. So
Right.
the thing with that is it will maybe buy us time that since we are now the owners, and in a technicality, our tenants are using the parking lot of Christ Memorial, and now we're the landlords, we're not going to call upon ourselves to fix the parking lot.
Right.
We might just do some patchwork till we can figure out down in the future. But if somebody else purchases the Lot 3 and they move in, they're like, well, all my customers are parking in Lot 4 because they can use it anytime they want. There might be some complaints.
Okay. So regardless of whether we purchase the Burn and those buildings, are we going to renegotiate that operating easement agreement? Because that seems to be like the thing
that would be a priority. And that can be done anytime, right?
Right.
It can be done. What we would do as part of our closing agreement with the Dan Jones Group, who's the Lot 2 owner, is we would basically say we approve each other to do whatever, and then we only need one approval going forward from the owner of Lot 1. And so it takes another vote off the table that could veto us.
Right.
It also prevents another vote from coming into the picture by buying Lot 3. So we go from potentially 4 owners to, there would be 3 owners, but 2 of the owners have a side agreement where, we'll let you do on your lot, and then there's only 1 other player at that point in time. But the goal would be to get to a new operating easement agreement altogether, and that's where we would push after this goes through.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Karen Westfall.
Hi, Karen.
2 questions. One, are we only allowed the 20,000, or can we do a little more?
I mean, I'm open. It kind of depends on, the question was, are we only allowed 20,000 square feet next door, or could we do more? I mean, we own the whole thing. It kind of depends. You got to be a little flexible with who we're going to lease to. And so it kind of depends on what their space needs would be. Maybe they need more or less space. And so we want to be a little bit flexible just to be able to make sure we get a market rent and lease out some of the space.
'Cause I mentioned earlier this year about us moving some of the classrooms that way. And also, sometimes I walk over to Schnucks to get something because I have time when I get here because my friend drops me off. So is there any way to fill the potholes that are really bad?
Fill the potholes. Yeah.
I've had enough falling in my life.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, and there's certainly some maintenance that needs to be done.
I know that it's not all your parking lot, but
Yeah,
it's a safety
yeah.
issue for me.
Well, also,
A lot of people.
we're working with the property management company. They're gonna keep us informed of routine maintenance that needs to be done, and help us plan and budget for that. And talking to just the one property manager we met with last week, they emailed us a version of their financial reports that they'll give you each month or quarterly, just depending on how often you want it. But they have sort of a scheduled maintenance plan. They review all the leases to understand the ins and outs of those. So, I think having a separate outside party handle that is important so that, that work can be handled by those folks, the experts. Right, or maybe a
Some
speed
of those
bump.
cars
Yeah.
think it's the Indy 500.
Yep. I get it.
But if we could keep our comments, I think, to the purchase and things that are specifically related to the purchase, it might help move this along.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob. Mr. Shaddy?
Hey, so 2 things, and one of them, I don't know, I might be violating what you just commented about there. But the first thing, I just wanted to see if I'm correct on this, okay? The financial model is that you showed here, this is counting on rental income. So in terms of short-term use of that Lot 3, we're counting on that rental income, so we couldn't really be using that specific area for some of our own ministry in that time that we have an outstanding loan on that. Is that correct? Or?
Correct. And that is relevant. That's relevant. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I'm not to say that we don't want to do it, but I mean, that part of it specifically is more for the future. Not that we couldn't use some of the incredible pizza area or, other parts, but I mean, that specific part is more tied to finishing off that loan, and then once that's done, we now have that, and that's
Potential future space. But yeah, I mean, yes, correct. The plan would be for the rents to pay off, and some of the tenants have options, like we covered, all the way through 2039. So,
Right.
yes.
Okay. The other thing, and this maybe infringes a little bit on what you commented there, but it sort of goes along with what a couple of other people said. Larry, I know, others have commented about the more immediacy, what can we do in the more near term, and it's always been one of my viewpoints that the child care is an area where we really need to look at what can we do in the more near term, because I think we're limited there. We're turning people away from the child care. To me, that's a place that helps this congregation grow, which helps us do future ministry. So I don't know if it's using some of the incredible pizza space or building out whatever, I guess, that direction. But somehow I feel like we need to look at the childcare specifically in terms of the short-term needs.
Sure, and I appreciate that. And I think, again, that's sort of part of the future and the separate. I'm trying to follow Bob here.
I know.
So yeah, I think the
Sorry,
issue at
Bob.
hand is the Gathering Square space, but I appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Harold?
I'd like to address the parking issue. I think if you look on the pictures, you see the dark black area, and then you see the lighter gray areas. In my opinion, we're gonna have to do something with that very soon. Bad spring, a lot of freeze-thaw cycles this spring, that thing's gonna blow up, in my opinion. And so we need to think about doing something with that right away. I would also like to highly encourage us to get out of that operating agreement altogether. Lot 1 and Lot 2 do not need our big parking lot. They don't need any spaces in there. And if we have to, Lot 2 is brand new. Lot 1, if we go in there, we're going to be doing paving and work on the parking lot. Anyway, go in there and fix his parking lot, put in some landscaping for him, and get him out of the agreement altogether.
I don't disagree with you.
So we want to work towards the fact that we control everything without anybody else telling us what we can and can't do.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, I'm Jerry. I got something to say. I'm 81 years old. At 12 years old, I was supposed to die. So I am. Now, I want to see something for the handicapped people. Handicapped people need to know about Christ. I got a lot of handicapped people that are so mad because they're handicapped and they can't accept for what they are. We need something here for handicapped people. That's my thought.
Thank you. And just real quickly, I wanted to have Tom just say a few words. If, for those of you who maybe have questions about what to expect during the due diligence period, I just wanted him to kind of talk through that process and what are the keys and the priorities for us in that process. And then if there's no other comments, we can kind of move forward. But here's Tom.
Thank you. First, I want to say how great your council is and how diligent they are. They have taken this a very thoughtful approach. They have taken their time, thought through everything, read through every single boring legal document that is out there about this, and they've done a fantastic job, and I think they should be commended for their attention to detail. So if we go under contract, we can terminate for a process of 60 days. So at any point, we can terminate. We don't like it, we can walk away. And I fully believe that with Pastor Jeff and the council, they are very willing to walk away if they find something they don't like. So we will go in, we will inspect the roof, we will inspect the sewer, we will inspect the HVAC, we'll look in behind every ceiling tile, we'll flush every toilet, we'll turn on every light, just like you would do a home inspection. And we will do it, so that's kind of the PCR you're talking about, the property condition report. The LCEF will need to get an appraisal, and that needs to come back positive, and then there will be a closing 15 days after our 60-day inspection period. Did I cover everything? Oh, the most important part, I'm sorry. I think the most important part of this deal is the tenant interviews, because while I think that this deal is a very solid investment, even if this was not a church. If this was one of our clients buying this, we would recommend this investment. But I think the biggest risk of all the tenants that were listed up there is Fitz's. Fitz's has bottling there. They make their own root beers in that facility, and it's a very weird and awkward space. I don't know if we have a picture of their floor plan, but it is kind of a Jenga piece, kind of a Tetris piece that goes behind the Outback Steakhouse. And I think it is critical that we do these tenant interviews with open ears and diligence and understand exactly how healthy their businesses are, reviewing their financial statements, making sure that they are going to be in it for the long haul, because I think one of the biggest risks stated on this piece of paper is, yeah, if these tenants, one of them goes out, we're going to have some vacancy. We're going to have probably 6 to, like Brett said, 24 months possibly until we find another tenant. So we are going to be very, very diligent in interviewing these tenants and making sure that we believe, with our best judgment, that they're going to be there for the long haul and can pay the rent so that we can generate the income that we're required. We'll do it together. I've done about 1,000 of them, and we get pretty good at reading these people.
What kind of square footage rent can you get from the Incredible Pizza vacancy?
Well, when it was Incredible Pizza, I think we were at like 4.25 or something. Is that right, Cynthia? I think that's about right. We're talking about now, on the low end, about 7, and on the higher end, maybe 8, 9, depending on who the tenant is. So, yeah, that's kind of what it's being marketed at.
I'm speaking from my military career of what I used to do. Is that place going to be sprayed for insects?
I'm sure it'll be white boxed, just standard protocol for whatever whoever comes in. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it'll be treated. All right. Any other comments, questions? What's that? On the motion. Okay. All right. So we're gonna call the vote. You guys should have all been passed ballots. Does every voting member have a ballot? If you don't, please raise your hand. Christy, she needs one. What? Yeah, we need ballots. If you guys don't have to put your name on them, but we'll trust that only voting members are going to vote. You'll only vote once. All that good stuff. This is all above board. We're all at church. We'll do that after the vote. And after the votes are completed and we have folks collecting those, and while we're tallying them, we will have the new voting members come up and sign the book. We're going to have Barry and Trent Walls help out. Trent is our new finance manager in the office, just so you guys know. Trent? Oh, there he is. Trent, hey. Barry and Trent will tally the votes. In the meantime, if we could welcome the new voting members up. If you're a new voting member, please come up and we'll have you sign the actual voting book. Thanks, Tom.
And today is the 30th, 25th.
Stan Rulo is signing right now, a regular 5 o'clock worshiper every Saturday night at 5 o'clock. The Rulos are here. Yes, Lizzie, we say something about each of you. As Lizzie Stryker said, she was married in this building, and there was a cookie walk. Was it the day of or the day before? The day of. And so we had to negotiate the space. So, yep, that happened. So she votes for banquet space next door so that Married to Ben and Mallory, a little girl in their home, and so they're a growing family among us. Mary Antonacci, married to Mark, regular at our late service, 10:45. Mary's a servant heart. Mary is on our altar guild and prepares communion, and she is married to an expert in the Shroud of Turin. So if you have I'll just leave it at that, and talk to Mark later. Mary doesn't think that's a big deal, but I'll talk to her husband, Mark. Tammy Collins doesn't want me to say anything, but Dennis and Tammy Collins. When did you come? You're newer members. Remind me of when you officially became members. A year and a half ago, about 18 months. And they bid at the youth gala for the pizza with the pastors. And so they already, and early on, got into a community group. Let's see, who's in your community group? The Avinas and Paganos. And so that's a cool moment where some longtime members took some new folks in, and Dennis and Tammy said, we want to use that pizza party for our community group. So I don't know if it was good for you. It was good for your pastors, and we enjoyed it, had a good time. Dennis and Tammy Collins. All right, Marlo Smith gets an A+ for bringing Penelope with her tonight. Yeah, Penelope's going to drool on the book, so... Yeah, Penelope's 5 months old. Harper and Charlotte, two other girls in the family, are at Green Park. And husband Alex just became a member in our spring cohort then, so he was a little late to the party, but we got him in. And we're glad that, 5 years later, but glad that Marlo's here and her growing family. We'll come down to Marie Crump. And Marie is regular at our late service. Interesting fact about Marie, she she gives me hugs. Is that okay? No, interesting fact about Marie, she'll disappear for a little bit in the winter and spend some time in Mexico. And we always miss her in that time. And then she comes back with plenty of vitamin D, and then she gives me hugs. Any other new voting members come up? Suzanne Wilson, you've been around a long time. Okay, come on up. Okay. Suzanne, been in our church for a long time. How long have you been a member, Suzanne? 20 years, about as long as I have. So, So, Suzanne has worked in our childcare for a number of years, just a dedicated servant with kids and our mission to kids and families, just humble, dedicated. Two grown boys who've grown up in our church too in youth ministry. So, Suzanne Wilson. Any other new members? I think that's it.
All right. We're still waiting on the tally, so we'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Larry, you had brought up the church purchase and how there was a little bit of a split at the time back when we purchased this building and some members had left. I came across one of them one time, and the old moniker, I guess, was they didn't want to go to church where they bought their underwear. And this was an old Target space, and I gladly moved over here, but that was kind of funny. I just thought that was funny. So anyway, here we are where the old Target was, and we're happy, so that's good. Anybody got any good jokes? just shout out to Jim Jocks. I think he's watching online. I think, thanks, Jim, for all your support. Jim's been a mentor for me. Shout out to my dad if you're watching at home. Get better. And so, yeah, any other? The next voters meeting, as of right now, is going to be in November, and that would be a regular voters meeting. Let's just check. It's always the second Monday, so that would be November the 10th. It's on my calendar, so you guys can put it on your calendar. That'll be at 7 o'clock. Maybe there will be an update at that point in time on everything that's going on. But like we talked about, if we identify a new tenant for next door, there could be a chance that we call another voters meeting. But I'm glad there's so many people here. It's really encouraging to me. Like I said, the last voters meeting, there were so many new voters. Pastor Jeff probably couldn't, introduce all of them because there was just so many folks, and it was great. So I can keep talking. We're just going to wait. Thanks, Keith. Cardinals are up 6-4. I haven't really been watching them this year. Been pretty uninteresting. Pastor Nathan.
First off, I don't like that Tom said we were friends, because if it goes bad, then our lives are tied together. Yeah, we're just going. I love visitation. I love going to people's homes. It's so much fun. There is someone in the Kolnick family that tells me the best jokes. He told me today that he met someone who said he could speak any language at all, except for Greek. He said he wasn't good at that. And so he said, well, hey, can you speak Slovak? He said, no, it's all Greek to me. Let it sink in. All right, one more. There was a man walking out of worship, and he was talking with the pastor, and he said, wow, what a church. Sermon was a little bit long, though. This is why this guy told me this story. I know. But then he's like, well, the choir was beautiful. So yeah, we have a great choir. The sanctuary was beautiful. Sanctuary is also beautiful. And he said, yeah, the flowers you had on the altar, also very beautiful. And he said, yeah, the flowers today were commemorated to those who died in the service. And the man asked, which one?
Jim Jocks just texted me and asked me to take the mic away from Pastor Nathan.
All right, so we're all sitting here for a while. Why don't we do this? Let's get up, find somebody that you don't know, and introduce yourself to them. That's a good idea. And let's get a little movement in here.
All right. That was a great idea from Cynthia to get everybody together. Glad you could all get together. We have the final tally in. And so the yays were 148, the noes were 9. So the motion passes. So thank you guys for that. And that pretty much, let me just go back to the agenda here. We did the reception and new voters meeting, so we have a closing prayer from Pastor Jeff, and I'll welcome him back up here.
Let us pray. Lord Jesus, you are the King. Lead on. We follow you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Meeting adjourned.